Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be finishing up our melee attack. And so in the previous videos, we created the sprites, we created the objects, we added a restart, and we have two scripts, one of which is mostly done, but we need to add one more line to it. In our player state free script, we're going to add one line. If we have pressed the attack key, in my case, right mouse button, and the player is on the floor. I only want my player to do melee if they're on the floor. Then the state is going to be changed to be player state dot attack melee. And so now we have a way to jump into our attack state. Well, what goes into our attack state? Right now we have nothing, but we're going to add just a couple of lines. Our horizontal movement speed is going to be set equal to 0. Our vertical movement speed is going to be set equal to 0. I don't want the player to move if they're going to do a melee attack. Then we start the attack. Here, if this is my check, if there's an instance of our rifle object, and so again, my character runs around with a little rifle. Well, if they're holding a rifle right now, I want to destroy the rifle, and then I want to create at the same X and Y position in our weapons layer. Let me double check. That's weapon without the S. In our weapon layer, the obj underscore axe. All this does is create an axe object. That's it. Now, if we run it, this should trap us into this state with nothing going on. We'll have to flesh out the rest of the code in our axe object. But let's go ahead and confirm that we at least have this going on. So jump into our testing room. Everything's working as normal. I'm going to right click. So we see our little swinging animation. I'm stuck here. I'm not allowed to do anything. It's frozen. They're not necessarily frozen, but we're trapped in the attack state because we don't have any other code to get us back to the free state. If I hit tab, of course, I restart and I can do it over again. And that's the benefit of having a restarting segment for our code. And so again, swing does that. If I look left, it still swings right. We'll need to fix that in our code. Plus, I'm swinging from the middle of my body. I want to swing from the edge. So now that we have this functionality down, let's go back in here. Our player attack state script is done. We now need to go into our axe. Our axe is where we're going to end up having the rest of the code to go into it. So first, of course, you need to create an event. What happens whenever we create our axe? So place axe. And so if the object player dot image underscore x scale is equal to -1. So that first tells us if our player is looking the other direction, make sure that we have our image underscore x scale for our axe to be equal to -1 as well. Flips it to the other side. So that addresses that part where I was swinging and it was only swinging on the right side. Well, now if we're looking left, it'll swing on the left side. But as we saw, the axe is swinging at the center of our person. I want to modify that. I'm going to make a variable and I'm going to call it var shift. It's only going to be temporarily used and set it to -10. Else, var shift will instead be equal to +10. It'll just be on the other side. So given that, I want to make sure the x value for my axe is obj underscore player dot x plus our shift. So that way, if I'm looking left, it'll move it negative X pixels. If I'm looking right, it'll just move it 10 pixels to the right. Y is going to be equal to our object underscore player dot Y. You can modify this and mess around with these numbers to make it look however you'd like it to look. But this just gets our axe to be where I would like to have it just a little bit off of the center of my player. Then this is the important part. We need to create a list of everything that we've hit. So hit by attack. This is going to be equal to ds underscore list underscore create. This is going to create our list. And I'm going to be set to start off our program. We currently only have this created and placed in the correct location. We need to go ahead and run this. And so we're not going to see anything really crazy happen other than the fact that now whenever I look left, it'll actually swing the axe on the left side. So jump into our test environment. In here, jump in, I swing, does a repeat. I hit tab to restart because that's the button I used that we did in the last video, or the first video actually. Then now I'm looking left, I swing, it's now swinging on the left side. So I have swinging for both left and right. That portion of the code is in fact working. Now that we have that set up in our create step, or create event, we're going to go ahead and add a step event. What do we do while we're moving through here? And so there's not too much code that we have to add, but this portion is going to address performing the attack. Inside here, we need to create a variable hit by attack now. This will simply keep track of our list on what we just got hit by. So our hit by attack now is equal to a new list that we're going to quickly create. So this will be everything that we end up touching with our swing. And so our hits is simply equal to, and this is going to check for all of our stuff. Instance, place, list, we'll grab the X and Y position and the object underscore enemy. How many enemies have we hit? This is going to be placed nicely inside our hit by attack now, and set to false. So this will build up a unique list for everything that we've hit with our objects. Or this will help set up for that. This is everything that we've been hitting at this point inside everything that our list for keeping track of that. If our hits is greater than 0, meaning that we've hit more than nothing, if we've hit anything at all, then for var I is equal to 0 while I is less than the total number of hits we've got, I plus plus. This is just a for loop. Inside here, var hit ID is going to be set equal to ds list find the value of hit by attack now. Inside this list, grab index I, and we're going to get the ID. So what object did we just hit? So if ds list underscore find index find underscore index hit by attack hit ID. So in our final list hit by attack, which we created in this create event, if this equals -1, that means we did not find it inside of our final list. And so in here, we then add to our list hit by attack this hit ID. this object that we've just hit. This makes sure that we have this is just gonna be everything that we end up touching. Everything that we've whacked at all is gonna be thrown into this list. But this list hit by attack, this will only have everything in it once, because this is being checked every frame. If you swing through an enemy, well, you're going to end up hitting the enemy several times for the entire animation. And so we might accidentally, this would keep track and tell us, okay, we've hit enemy number 1 20 times with just one swing. I don't want to do 20 attack damage. I want to do 1 damage per swing, and that's it. I don't want to end up doing 20 attacks per swing. At least that's how I'm setting it up. And so down here, we're gonna take everything that we've hit and check, okay, this thing that we've hit, is it in our final list? If it's not in our final list and we've not hit that thing yet, add it to the list. If it is in our final list, we do nothing. We leave it alone. And so we add it to our final list. And right now for our operations, our purposes, we are placing it inside the list to ensure that next time we don't accidentally damage that same thing, because now it'll be found in the list and it's not going to throw -1. -1 only tells us it's not in the list. And then while we still have this ID with us, this particular object that we have struck, that enemy, we then simply do instance_destroy. Later, we're going to go in and update this to actually deal damage to them. But I'm just going to destroy the object or the enemy that we have hit. And then after we've completed that for this one step, this one frame, I'm going to make sure to destroy this list so we don't have any memory leaks. Dealing with data structures, special lists, arrays, vectors, and whatnot is finicky. You can easily end up building up all these lists and pointers and whatnot and causing memory issues. So we make sure to delete something as soon as we're done with it. We don't need this list anymore, we delete it. And then in the next step, it checks to see how many things have I hit in this particular frame. Now that we have done this, and this list keeps track of everything across the entire attack, not just this frame, we can move into what do we do at the end of our animation. The end of our animation under other animation end, we've swung, it's hit the bottom. Well, I'm going to deal with adding back the rifle. Object_player player.state is going to be set back to player state.free. Return us back to our free state. That way we can move again. I'm also going to recreate a layer for our rifle. OBJ_rifle. And then I will destroy myself. I don't need the axe to be here anymore. Destroy, open close parentheses, set that down. Now, this wraps up the rifle part. The last thing I want to do is have a cleanup event. Under cleanup, I'll add destroy hit by attack list. And so just like we destroyed the list in that individual frame, I need to destroy the overall list that kept track of everything that we hit across the entire attack. That way we have nothing clinging around. Cleanup event will fire after animation end, and so it'll destroy itself. It'll make sure to clean itself up and remove that as well. So now, assuming everything's been typed correctly, I can hit play. we'll jump into our program. And so let's jump into the testing room. So everything's good. All the normal animations, I can swing. And notice it only swings once, stops, deletes. Notice whenever it swings, our rifle vanishes. And whenever it comes back, or whenever the swing is done, the rifle reappears. So we got that portion accomplished. If I look left, it now swings left just fine. Everything looks to be good. Now let's check if we can properly detect what we've collided with. And so our hitbox detected that, got rid of that. And swinging left and right works just fine. See here, the swing was able to hit both this one and that one. And if I want to test again, I hit tab and I can do this all over again. And now we've got this. Now also, because I have the check to see if we're on the floor, if I try to swing while jumping in space, it's not working. I can only swing if I'm standing on the floor. But now we have our swing animations nicely set up. And so we now have melee attacks in the game. So recapping over what we've done here, at the bottom of our player state free, we added one check. If they've hit the attack key, which in my case is the right mouse button, and they are on the floor, we switch the attack state, or we switch the state to our attack melee state. Then that means we're going to call this script the player state attack, which simply makes sure that our player can't move anymore. And if the rifle exists, destroy the rifle and create our axe. This check also works because while we're in the attack state, we're actually attacking for multiple frames to do the full swing. This ensures that we only create one axe on the very first frame of the attack. Otherwise, you'll accidentally end up creating a bunch of axes. And so that's why I check if the rifle exists, delete it, and then swing, and that's it. Without this, it'll try to delete the object if it is there. Otherwise, it'll just create a ton of axes for however many frames it takes to complete this. Then all of the actual work is inside our axe object. We create the axe. This address is facing the correct direction, either swinging left or swinging right. Then here we simply specify where the axe goes. You'll move this around until you're satisfied. I preferred mine to be 10 pixels off to the right or 10 to the left, but I did not modify my Y value. You can change it, whatever pleases you. And we create the list to track everything that we've hit by this entire attack. In our step event, we're going to keep track of a list of everything that we've hit in this frame. This throws it inside of this list. For so long as we've hit something, we then go through the process of checking each of those items, grabbing that particular item we've hit. If it's in our hit for the entire attack, or if it's not in there, it couldn't find it, the index is -1, or that's what it returns, then that means we have not already dealt with the damage here yet. Add it to the list so that way we don't accidentally do it again. And then with that particular item that we've hit, destroy it. Later on, we'll replace this to only deal the certain amount of damage. We'll end up doing a script for that to help simplify things. But for the moment, I'm just destroying the entity. And then after I've completed this step, destroy my temporary list for what I've hit in this step. Finally, down here in our animation end, after I have swung the axe and it's hit the ground, we then set the player state back to the free state so they can move around, create the rifle object, and destroy ourselves. And a cleanup event gets called whenever it's destroyed, and it's to make sure that our list of everything that we've attacked also gets destroyed. We don't want anything hanging around in memory slowing our game down. And with that, that wraps up this activity. We now have melee attacks in our game. And so if you have any questions or need any assistance, just let me know in class. Otherwise, that's all I've got. Everyone have a good one.